Hi everybody, it's Matt here, your local friendly neighbourhood vestibular migraine sufferer. So I'm doing a little video today on a kind of topic that I get asked about quite a lot when I'm in discussions with fellow sufferers. And it's kind of how you deal with that period once you've got the diagnosis and you start going on to your long-term meds. So the likes of amitriptyline, sertraline, etc. But you still feel absolutely awful, and unfortunately, while getting used to those medications, they obviously can exacerbate the symptoms you're already feeling, so ultimately you feel worse. It's really crap, it's a really shitty scenario, but that's unfortunately one of the side effects. So this is kind of like, I guess this phase I would class as kind of the night being darkest before the dawn. Hint, hint. And we'll dig into it a little bit. So in my experience, what happened to me was obviously I came down with I nearly said the Kung flu then, which I have to call it that, otherwise I might get banned. So when I came down with vestibular migraine, obviously I was very poorly. So it kind of gradually got me after the collapsing episode of the football match, then gradually grabbed a hold of me and I just got worse and worse and worse and just went down. So obviously I felt really, really poorly. Had all the symptoms I've talked about in some of my other videos: derealization, photophobia, even twitching in my face, feeling like I'm being rocked, all the regular ones. And I just felt absolutely awful. So after I got the diagnosis, that was the real turning point, which I've done another video on that, of course, because diagnosis is the key, and then you can start walking down that road to treatment, and then ultimately walking down the motorway or the freeway to getting better. So I got the diagnosis, and then that was the time then to go on to the right medications, or try certainly some of the right medications to make it better. So I remember when the first thing I dealt with in terms of medication was the anxiety and depression side. So you'll see on some of my other videos that I think that's absolutely crucial, because that's probably, it's a bit like choosing between whether you're hung, shot or drowned, isn't it? Which of the symptoms are worse with vestibular migraine? But I would say the anxiety and the mood element is probably the worst, because that in itself is its own illness, isn't it? Think about it. So you kind of are getting two illnesses at once. You're getting all the horrible balance and vestibular stuff, but you're also getting the anxiety and depression. And of course, we can't help it because of the interlinked between those two parts in our mind and head. So I think the most important thing to tackle immediately is the anxiety. So that was the first thing that I moved to tackle with medication. So I remember, I think I started off on citalopram, and then very, very quickly I was moved on to sertraline, because I saw a really good doctor who, she knew the doctor who'd helped my brother get through his anxiety. So she immediately understood that actually my brother had got better on sertraline. So she recognised that sertraline would probably also work for me, because it does tend to be successful within family groups. So I got put onto sertraline, but obviously citalopram that I'd been on for a couple of days or whatever it was on sertraline, when you are getting used to them, and this is the case with a lot of other medications like amitriptyline, as I said at the start of the year, they exacerbate your symptoms and make your mood symptoms feel worse. It can also make some of the vestibular symptoms worse, like I know the derealization things can get worse when you're getting used to meds. So because you are already in a heightened anxious or depressed state, when that's exacerbated, you just feel total shit. And I seem to remember I kind of had the start of this process was really the burning anxiety, and then that kind of started then to mix in with moments of burning anxiety, but moments of just feeling really, really depressed once I'd gone onto the sertraline. And that was because that's kind of one of the side effects of getting used to the drug. So I'm rambling a bit, but what I'm trying to get to is what really worked for me, and what I would recommend if you can, is when you're getting used to your regular medication to deal with the anxiety, is that you ask if you can, or you find a doctor that is willing to prescribe you some form of benzos to manage that period. So in the period where you're getting used to your what's going to be your regular medication, it kind of spikes in terms of like the horrible anxiety and depression. So what you need is just in that short spiking time when you feel even worse, which is usually lasts about 4 weeks, you have some benzos to take alongside the long-term med so that it takes the edge off that just feeling absolutely terrible. So I was lucky, so the doctor I got to see, and then the doctor then who took over, who's now my regular doctor, they both understood how important it was to have that course of benzos for that short period of time, just while you get used to the regular meds. And then what happened was, as the regular meds kicked in, say this is the benzos and this is the regular meds, as they kicked in, they essentially took over from what the benzos do, and then I just stopped taking the benzos, but the regular meds had taken over, and that was a real turning point, because that's when I started to actually move towards feeling better, because obviously I'd got the horrible depression, anxiety symptoms had been dealt with, and also the sertraline does start helping on some of the vestibular symptoms. It's often used to treat vestibular conditions. So that also meant that without the horrible anxiety and depression, which is really debilitating in itself, I could focus on mitigating the debilitating vestibular migraine symptoms, so the likes of derealization and photophobia. So essentially I was not being overloaded with symptoms all at once. I was able to deal with one, then I can start dealing with the other ones. So I think it's a really crucial process that I think is really key to dealing with vestibular migraine when you're getting used to your medication. I get so many people who I talk to, they're struggling to get used to the medication, and you'll say, well, how long have you been on it? They'll say like a couple of days. They want to stop taking it because obviously it's making them feel worse. But I think their predicament would be a lot different if they got the benzo treatment alongside that, like I was fortunate enough to get. So it's something I would really encourage. Tell your GPs about it, tell them about experiences, maybe my experience, other experiences where that's been used as a form of treatment, and see what they will do for you. And people often worry with benzos that they're going to get addicted, but any doctor who's worth their salt will manage and control that really well with you. So I was fortunate that my doctor, my GP, was really good at that. He was like, you're not going to get addicted to them in, say, a month, 2 months, however long it is. You just need to get used to your regular meds. People who get addicted to them tend to be taking it constantly for months and months and months and months, if not a year. And he was very reassuring on that. And he was like, I'm managing it. I'm not giving you, he wasn't overdosing me. He was prescribing enough dose. So I think with the benzos I took, I think it was 2 mg in the morning, lunchtime, and then in the evening. And then on occasion, I think, if my memory serves correct, I had permission just to go up to 4 if I was in a particularly bad state. So they will control it. They will make sure you don't become addicted. So please try and embrace it. Just try it. Just suggest it. See how it goes. But I think, anything that kind of eases that horrible spike as you're getting used to regular medication is worth considering and worth trying. And it also means that you don't give up on medication that's going to really help you before it's got a chance to help, if that makes sense. So, and another little tip on this, because obviously we're dealing with the anxiety and depression symptom of vestibular migraine, keep it in mind and perhaps keep it in your back pocket, do a bit of research, have a psychiatrist as someone to potentially go and see, as well as an ENT or a neurologist, because the psychiatrist is an absolute expert in dealing with really big mental disorders. So he will have dealt with people who feel as mentally poorly as you do at that current time, and I bet you bottom dollar a fair few of them are very aware of the kind of like the coexistence between benzos and your regular SSRI meds, and know that you can manage that sort of transition period, that awful spike in feeling so awful with your mood, with benzos. So I think that's definitely worth exploring. So think about having a psychiatrist. I often mix the two up, psychiatrists and psychologists. Psychiatrist to hand. I had my brother actually done some research for me, and that was going to be one of my my moves if the GP hadn't been open in terms of treating me in using the benzos, but fortunately it was, so I never actually had to do it, but I would have done. And I do know a few people who've been poorly through mental illness, not through vestibular migraine, and they were dealt with really well by a psychiatrist, so that's something to keep in mind. So just to conclude, I think it's really important that you get onto a long-term meds to control the anxiety and depression, but also start to mitigate some of the other vestibular symptoms. But then it's really important to get help in that season of adjustment as you're getting used to that SSRI. And that, for me, came in the form of benzos for a very short period of time, month, 6 weeks, whatever it was, just to take the edge off things while I got used to my regular long-term SSRI. So I hope that tip makes sense, and I hope, you know, really note the fact that what I said. I know I'm not a doctor, and you need to talk to your doctor about the consequences of benzos, but as I've been told by my GP and other people who've had to unfortunately go down that route, is you'll not get addicted in a very short time frame that you will probably need to have them as you get used to your regular medication. So discuss it with your doctor, discuss it with your neuros, your ENTs, and if they're not open to the idea, then go and see a psychiatrist. No shame in that at all. The main thing is that you get better, you get back to enjoying your lives as much as possible with the Kung Flu ridiculous lockdowns. But anyway, I'll say no more about that. I don't want to get like shadow banned or whatever. So I hope that helps. As I said, the night is darkest before the dawn, and that's that period. But you're getting really close to the dawn once you've got the diagnosis and you're getting onto your medication. It's only a matter of time. It's just getting through that darkest spell just before the dawn. So I hope that helps. And remember, as you were, you'll be again. Cheers, guys. See you later.